Heartwarming story. Millionaire responds to poor black girl's touching promise for milk. DISCOV. In a vibrant, bustling neighborhood of Chicago, 12-year-old Anaya stood by her makeshift craft stand, the sun shining brightly on her hopeful smile. With every glimmer of her creations, she envisioned the milk she'd promised her little brother Malik. Every piece of painted wood and colorful scrap spoke volumes of resilience. Her heart raced as she recalled her mother's nightly struggles, working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. She glanced at Malik, his eyes sparkling, unaware of their precarious situation. "I swear, Malik, I'll make enough today to bring home milk," she whispered, determination fueling her spirit. Just then, a shadow crossed her path. Anaya looked up to see a sharply dressed man, Mr. Thompson, walking by. He had wealth in his stride, but something tugged at him as he noticed her little stand. His eyes, a mix of intrigue and confusion, caught on the delicate crafts, an echo of hope shining through Anaya's bright face. He stopped. "These are beautiful," he said, the words seeming foreign to him. "How can I help?" Anaya's heart skipped. Part of her wanted to dismiss him, the stranger from a world she couldn't imagine. But another part, desperate to keep her promise, felt the weight of his offer. Did he really want to help, or was it just curiosity? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but the spark cooled quickly when a clash of ideals splintered their budding connection. Anaya felt the heat rise in her chest, pride bubbling over as she pushed back against Mr. Thompson's ideas, his suggestions seeming to brush aside the very essence of her struggle. "You don't know what it's like," she shot back. "I can't accept help from someone who doesn't understand." Their arguments turned into heated discussions, presenting the thick line of reality and privilege, a chasm neither of them had yet to traverse. Anaya was too busy, too focused on her fight, and Mr. Thompson couldn't break free from the ideas of success he had held close for so long. But then, a storm swept through the neighborhood, a torrential rain that flooded streets and united the community like never before. Neighbors who had once barely exchanged a word were out helping each other. Anaya, soaked and stunned, watched the camaraderie splash through the chaos. People came together, sharing food and supplies, a testament to resilience far beyond mere survival. As the rain poured and hearts connected with shared struggles, a realization washed over her like a cleansing wave. Wealth wasn't about money. It was about community, compassion, and love. Anaya's heart swelled with a new light, igniting hope despite the storm. Standing in a community meeting later that week, she listened as her neighbors spoke of rebuilding, of persistence, and upward movement. She felt it in her bones. This was something big. Before she knew it, Mr. Thompson stood up, offering Anaya a chance. She never thought she could reach an internship at his company. The room was silent as her heart raced, a moment teetering on the edge of everything she could gain or lose. Would she step into this new world? Could she let down her walls and trust someone who seemed so different? As Anaya lingered on the threshold of decision, she could feel a community behind her, holding her up, and she knew this was only the beginning of a journey that could change everything. Anaya's heart beat like a drum in her chest. The room felt both electric and suffocating as she stared at Mr. Thompson. The offer hung in the air, filled with possibilities and unspoken fears. Did he really believe in her potential, or was this just an act of charity? Her mind raced and her stomach twisted. An internship? The word felt surreal, sitting at the edge of her tongue. Hope flickered and faltered. How could she simply step into a world where everyone seemed polished and perfect, where expectations loomed larger than the skyscrapers outside. Around her, whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Faces illuminated by the faint lights, peering at her with expectation. Each expression a vote of confidence or doubt. The weight of her community pressed against her, urging her to take the leap to trust. But then, there was the voice of her mother echoing in her mind. Anaya, don't chase things you can't have. The memory felt like a weight on her shoulders, fighting against her dreams. Hadn't they worked hard enough? Did she deserve to step into a world filled with privilege that felt so far from their reality? Malik's innocent laughter broke her thoughts. She could picture his small hands reaching for the milk, his eyes bright with naivete. Could she let him down? She felt fiercely protective of her brother's hope and happiness, and a sliver of doubt crept in. What if she failed? Mr. Thompson took a step forward, breaking the barrier of silence. Anaya, you have a talent that deserves to be seen. His voice, deep and steady, seemed to take on a warmth that wrapped around her fears. This isn't about giving you a handout. It's about unlocking the door to what you can become. The truth of it was powerful, resonating deep inside her. She needed to think of her family, her mother's sacrifices, and the little brother whose dreams hung on her hope. If she didn't at least try, would she ever forgive herself? Taking a deep breath, she stood a bit taller. Okay, she said, the word tentative yet laced with a new strength. I'll do it. But on my terms. The crowd erupted into murmurs of support and joy, a wave of energy soaring around her. Anaya felt it, the community lifting her spirit, welcoming this new chapter, as if it were a child stepping into the light for the first time. She glanced at Malik, whose tiny fingers danced with excitement as he caught her gaze. Let us make this happen, together, she promised, feeling the warmth flood through her chest. Days turned into weeks as Anaya began her internship. Each morning, she woke a little earlier, ready to embrace the new world that welcomed her so eagerly. She was surprised at how quickly she adapted, her fingers nimble, and her heart racing with ideas and dreams. The craft she had always loved took on new colors in the reality of the design studio. For the first time, she could see herself as more than just a girl from the neighborhood, but as she dove deeper, swimming in the tides of creativity and deadlines, a new challenge emerged. A critical presentation loomed ahead, the stakes mounting higher than she had ever dreamed. Her confidence wavered as shadows of self-doubt flickered beneath her surface. What if it wasn't good enough? Anaya shared her fears with Mr. Thompson, who responded with unexpected gentleness. You've got this, Anaya. Don't forget where you came from, it's your strength. But could she really channel her struggles into the polished world before her? Did she have what it took to shine in the crowd of talented people surrounding her? As the day of the presentation approached, Anaya felt the weight of the moment building around her. Would she rise to the challenge, or would she let fear dictate her fate? The answer seemed just out of reach, lingering in the air like the scent of fresh paint, a blend of anxiety and anticipation that left her breathless. All she could do was prepare, powered by the memory of every promise she had made. And just when she thought she had it figured out, a sudden email from Mr. Thompson landed in her inbox, and the words sent shockwaves through her. Her heart raced as she read and reread the line. A choice was coming that would change everything again. How could she possibly choose? Anaya's fingers trembled as she stared at her screen, the bright glow illuminating her face in the dim light of her small apartment. The email felt heavy, the weight of what it proposed settling in her chest like a stone. Anaya, I need you to consider something that might change the trajectory of your internship. Mr. Thompson's message began. Her heart skipped, the words teasing at endless possibilities. But as she read on, the excitement dulled into a haze of anxiety. There's an opportunity for an upcoming project in Paris. Your unique perspective could add so much, but hung over her like a storm cloud. Would she really leave home? Leave Malik? The thought of being halfway across the world was daunting. What if she failed? What if she faltered in such a big moment, far from everything she knew? She closed her eyes, her mind racing back to her mother's words, the reminders of their sacrifices echoing like a haunting melody in her thoughts. Where they lived now was a foundation built on hard work and resilience, a life woven with unspoken dreams. Traveling to Paris felt like grabbing for stars. What if she reached and fell? Malik's gentle snoring from the other room shifted her focus, and her heart softened. He believed in her without question. No hesitation in his small, innocent worldview. Mom sent him to bed earlier saying he needed his sleep for school. A silly grin stretched across her face at the memory of him playfully pledging to one day be her biggest fan, even drawing effusive doodles proclaiming, "Anaya for president." Just then, Anaya's phone buzzed a notification from her design group chat. Excited banter filled the screen, everyone discussing the project details. It wasn't long before her colleagues began tagging her, filled with encouragement and anticipation. "You'd be amazing. The design just needs your touch. Imagine what you could do in Paris." They rallied behind her as if they could sense the hesitation weighing her down. It surged within her like a wave pulling at the shore, pushing her toward the option that felt both thrilling and terrifying. "Maybe I could do this," she whispered to the empty room, her heart racing again. What if this could propel her into opportunities she never imagined? Could she be that girl who inspired others, proving dreams were possible, regardless of where one started? But something held her back. It wasn't just the fear, there was a part of her that felt unworthy of such grand adventures. Wasn't she just Anaya, the girl who escaped the reality of her life through design? Could she really combine her dreams with her experiences in a place like Paris? The email was still open, the cursor blinking back at her like a heartbeat. Just a click could push her further into a world unknown. But what would it cost? Feeling the knot in her stomach twist tighter, she glanced toward Malik's room again, and a spark ignited inside her. This wasn't just about her. It was about them, their family, and their future. Every decision rippled outward, touching the lives of everyone around her. Anaya took a deep breath, fingers hovering over the keys. She wanted to break through the walls that turned hope into fear. She wanted to make decisions that built bridges rather than barriers. In that moment, she saw a flash of the journey that could come, the girl who could inspire others, light up rooms with creativity, and pull everyone forward with her. But with that glimmer also came the question that made her thrill and pale all at once. "Am I ready to become the person I've always wanted to be?" she murmured softly. And just as she made her mind up to reply, her phone rang. The name flashing on the screen chilled her to the bone. Mom. What could she want now? Anaya wondered, tugging at the hem of her shirt nervously. She answered, heart hammering. What if this call changed everything? Anaya? Her mom's voice came through, shaky yet firm. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Anaya swallowed hard. No, Mom. Just thinking about something. Her heart raced, bracing for news that could swing her emotions like a pendulum. I just wanted to hear your voice, her mother said. I miss you. How is everything going? Are you still enjoying the internship? The concern fell across the phone line, wrapping Anaya in warmth, but also creating a weight on her heart. Yeah. It's going well, she replied, her fingers twisting in her hair nervously. Actually, Mr. Thompson offered me something big. A project in Paris. Silence hung in the air, then her mother gasped softly. Oh, Anaya. That's incredible. Paris. I can't even imagine how wonderful it would be. But Anaya breathed out, feeling tears prick at the corners of her eyes. What if I mess it up? What if it's too much? What if I fail? Darling, remember when you were scared to show me your first painting? Her mom replied, her voice rich with memory. You worried no one would like it. But you did it anyway. You put your heart on that canvas. That fear never stopped you then, so don't let it stop you now. Anaya squeezed her eyes shut. It was true. There had always been fear, but she had painted over it, relying on her creativity and imagination. Yeah, but this feels different. It's Paris, Mom. Life is full of big moments, and this is one of yours, her mother said earnestly. You can do this. I believe in you. Anaya's heart soared at her mom's words, but there lingered a twinge of doubt. What about Malik? I don't want to leave him behind. I can't just pack up and go. Malik believes in you too. He looks at you like you are the sun, Anaya, her mom reminded her softly. And he'll always be your biggest fan, no matter the distance. A few months away could mean a brighter future for both of you, once you return. Just think about the opportunities you could bring back home. The idea felt tantalizing and scary. A world beyond her little apartment, beyond her protective bubble. Would leaving Malik make him feel abandoned? Tears escaped down her cheeks as she wrestled with herself. Mom, she said, voice trembling. What if this changes everything? What if I'm not ready? Ready or not, my sweet girl, change is part of life, her mom replied, a steadiness in her tone that guided Anaya's thoughts. It's okay to be afraid. Just don't let that fear keep you from what you're meant to do. Just listen to your heart. Anaya breathed in and out, her heart settling slightly. She hadn't even realized how much she needed to hear that. A plan formed in her head, images of art galleries and busy Parisian streets igniting her imagination. I'll think about it, she said, her voice stronger now. I promise. Just as they wrapped up the call, Anaya felt renewed. For the first time, the daunting task began transforming into an exhilarating adventure. But then, as she hung up, her heart fluttered with a sudden wave of uncertainty. Would this truly lead her to who she was meant to be? What if the real journey began the moment she stepped out of her comfort zone? Malik's door creaked open, sleep still heavy in his eyes. Anaya, are you okay? He mumbled, rubbing at his face. I'm okay, buddy, she said, smiling through the remnants of tears. Just thinking. Thinking about going to Paris? He asked with innocence that made Anaya's heart swell. Something like that, she replied, her mind already spinning with the kaleidoscope of possibilities. His eyes sparkled. You're gonna be awesome. Just like in your drawings. She pulled him into her arms, the warmth of his small body grounding her. In that embrace, she felt the weight of expectation and the thrill of potential. And just as she began to explain her thoughts about Paris, her phone vibrated with another message. She glanced down and gasped. It was Mr. Thompson again, with more details about the project. Maybe, Anaya said softly to herself, feeling the tug of excitement mixed with trepidation, maybe this is just the beginning. But as the screen lit up with unread messages, a flutter of fear whispered inside her. Could she really take this leap? Anaya felt her heart race as she read Mr. Thompson's message. He was requesting a meeting to discuss the project in Paris, and she could sense the weight of that opportunity pressing against her chest. The thrill of excitement sparked in her belly, yet the anxiety of potential failure shadowed her thoughts. Here goes nothing, she whispered to herself, swiping her phone to read the details again. Malik, still nestled against her side, tugged at her shirt. What does it say? He asked, his voice small but curious. Just a meeting, Anaya responded, trying to keep her tone light despite the whirlwind in her mind. To talk more about the project. Malik beamed up at her, his eyes wide and bright. You're gonna show them how amazing you are? I know it. She wanted to smile back, to feel the same confidence he seemed to radiate, but the nagging doubt hung on. What if they don't think I'm good enough? What if I stumble over my words? You won't, he said, nudging her gently. You always say that being scared means you're doing something brave. Right? Anaya nodded, remembering her own words. Malik had this knack for bringing her back to herself, making her feel lighter when the shadows crept in. You're right, buddy. I just need to believe in myself. Just like in your drawings, he chirped, bouncing with enthusiasm. Exactly, she said, her heart fluttering with pride. The thought of sharing her art with the world made her smile genuinely. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with courage. Maybe Malik's unwavering belief in her was enough to pull her through. The next few days flew by in a blur. Anaya dove into preparations, sketching out ideas, researching Paris, and rehearsing how she'd present her work. Each passing moment felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Yet, every time she pictured the Eiffel Tower rising in the distance, something deep within her stirred, a quiet voice encouraging her to go for it. When the day of the meeting arrived, Anaya found herself standing in front of her bathroom mirror, nervous energy coursing through her veins. Malik peeked into the room, his tiny hands gripping the doorframe. "You look beautiful," he exclaimed, a huge smile spreading across his face. "Thanks, Malik. You think so?" She adjusted her hair, the soft curls bouncing as she did. "Definitely. Don't forget to show Mr. Thompson your best ideas. Paris needs to see your art." His sincerity wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Anaya took a moment, absorbing that infectious enthusiasm. "You're right. This is for me. For us." As she arrived at the office, the towering building stretched high above her, mirrors reflecting her anxious face alongside the sky. This was it. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, her heels echoing against the polished floor. Mr. Thompson greeted her warmly, his usual exuberance shining through. "Anaya, so glad you could make it. I can't wait to discuss your vision for the Paris project." Her heart raced as they settled into a conference room filled with sunlight. Ideas poured from her lips, painting images of what she dreamed for her art in Paris. The conversation flowed, and for the first time, she felt more like a collaborator than an intern. But just as Anaya began to believe in the possibilities, Mr. Thompson's phone pinged. He glanced down, his brow furrowing ever so slightly. "Excuse me for a moment." Anaya's smile faltered as she watched him step outside, the door closing behind him. A knot tightened in her stomach. What if this meeting didn't end well? Moments felt like hours as she wide-eyed, shifting in her seat. Then something in her rang clear, almost as if Malik's voice echoed in her ears, reminding her to stay true to herself. When Mr. Thompson returned, his expression was grave. "I need to talk to you about something important." Her heart dropped into her stomach. The uncertainty clouded her thoughts. What could have changed so quickly? What if this was a setback? Anaya, feeling the weight of his words stop her in space, she held her breath, ready for whatever storm was coming. Just then, the door creaked open again, leaving her questioning what was next. Would the news be a door closing or another pathway opening? In that moment, when everything hung in the balance, she was suddenly faced with a truth she never saw coming. Anaya's heart pounded louder as Mr. Thompson shifted in his chair. The air felt thicker, stifling in the sunny room, and her palms grew clammy. She was ready for whatever news he had to deliver. "Anaya, I just received a call from the corporate office," he began, his tone serious yet measured. "There have been some unexpected changes in our project funding." Her stomach twisted. Changes? The only change she wanted was the chance to bring her art to life in Paris, not a setback that might rip it from her grasp. She held on to the edges of her seat, willing herself to stay calm. "And as much as it pains me to say this," he continued, "the current climate has forced us to reconsider who we can work with for this project. The stakeholders, well, they want a name that's already established." Each word felt like a punch to her gut. The dream of Paris, the chance to create and inspire, flickered like a candle in a gust of wind. "Wait, Are you saying I'm out of the project? She asked, voice trembling. She forced herself to meet his gaze, seeking the reassurance that he somehow would give. Not exactly. They want to see more from you before making a final decision. This isn't an outright rejection. Her breath hitched. So there's still hope? He offered a weak smile, his eyes softening. Yes, if you can grasp this opportunity. Their essay presentation coming up in 2 weeks. You need to wow them with your ideas. Show them why your vision is essential for this project. 2 weeks? She felt the mix of nerves and determination surge through her like a bolt of lightning. There wasn't much time, but she could do this. She had to do this. Yes, and I believe you can do it, Anaya. His tone softened, and though the weight of change still loomed, it felt lighter somehow. You have an incredible talent, and I want to see it shine. Anaya nodded, swallowing hard against the surge of emotions. The fear of failure still loomed, but now there was a flicker of possibility igniting in her chest. She could dive deeper, pull out those ideas she barely dared to dream about. Okay. I'll work on a new presentation. I'll give it everything I've got. That's the spirit. I'll support you however I can. As she stood to leave, her heart raced with renewed energy. She could feel the art inside her yearning to be unleashed, swirling through her like a painter's palette. Just as she was about to step outside, Malik's small face popped into her mind. She could see him cheering her on, his voice lifting her spirit. Anaya, remember, it's not just about being good enough. It's about sharing your passion. That's what they need to see. She smiled, feeling the swell of hope. But as she stepped back into the hallway, ready to find her way back to her desk, she glanced up to find Mr. Thompson speaking to a fellow executive, who looked less than impressed. The weight of the decision hung in the air like a thick fog, and with every heartbeat, the doubt began to creep back. What if she didn't live up to the expectations? What if their vision couldn't hold her art? With each step she took, determination fueled her thoughts. She would pour her heart into this presentation, no, she would spill her soul onto that canvas. As days blurred into frantic nights of sketching and planning, a question nagged her mind. Was she ready to reveal her deepest self to these strangers in a far-off city? The night before her meeting, Anaya sat on her bed, looking at her sketches scattered around her like a constellation of dreams. Her heart raced with anticipation and fear. Could she truly show them what Paris needed? The dawn of her presentation loomed like a shadow. She thought of the Eiffel Tower, the life pulsing through its iron frame, and with it came her resolve. Tomorrow would be the true test of her courage. And deep down, she hoped it would also be the moment everything changed for better or worse. The sun barely peeked through her curtains the next morning, but Anaya was wide awake, her heart racing in rhythm to the thoughts swirling in her mind. The presentation felt like an enormous boulder on her chest, yet she couldn't shake the flame of determination from igniting any further. Today was her day to shine or crash and burn. In the shower, she rehearsed her pitch. Words spilled from her lips in the steaming air. Art isn't just about aesthetics, she reminded herself, picturing the faces in that boardroom, the still air between them waiting for her revelations. It's about connection. It's about exploring what it means to feel alive. Dressing took longer than usual, hands fumbling as she slipped into a simple yet stunning navy dress that hugged her curves just right. She glanced in the mirror and felt a flicker of affirmation. This was not just a presentation. It was a piece of her soul being laid bare before strangers. With each step she took towards the office, her heartbeat quickened, an echo of excitement and fear entwined. She arrived at her desk and took a deep breath. The office was abuzz with activity, but silence surrounded her until she heard Malik's voice in her head again. Believe in your passion. That's what they need to see. Anaya gathered her sketches and notes, her mind racing back to the hours of painstaking work she had put in. Each brushstroke, Each concept had been a whisper from her heart. Would they hear her? At the conference room door, she paused, one hand resting on the cold doorknob as she summoned her courage. She closed her eyes, imagining the Eiffel Tower. Its strength. Its beauty. She opened her eyes and stepped inside. The room was sleek, filled with executives in sharp suits, the air thick with expectation. Anaya knew she had to own this moment, to take command of the space and indulge the imaginations of her audience. Mr. Thompson gave her an encouraging nod, but the sight of the other stoic, almost robotic, made her stomach flutter. "Welcome, Anaya," the lead executive said, leaning forward slightly. "We're eager to hear your vision." The moment felt electric. She cleared her throat, confidence washing over her as she met their gazes. "Thank you for the opportunity. Today, I want to show you how art can transform a city, ignite a culture, and resonate with the hearts of people." Her voice trembled slightly but gained strength with each word, driven by the passion bubbling beneath the surface. With each slide, she painted a vision that transcended mere aesthetics. She transported them to Paris, where her art would not only decorate buildings but tell stories, evoke emotion, and bridge gaps between people. The room shifted from its initial staleness. Curiosity sparked in the eyes of her audience, but as she turned to the final sketch, the piece that was closest to her heart, she saw it. She could almost hear the whispers of doubt creeping back in from her mind. One executive furrowed his brow, and she suddenly felt exposed, as if all her vulnerabilities were laid bare under an unforgiving spotlight. "Anaya, while what you present is undoubtedly creative, how do we know it can draw people? How can you guarantee it'll have the impact we need?" His words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Her heart raced, but this was the moment she realized something. This isn't just about audience engagement, it's about authenticity. Art should resonate because it's true to who we are. If I can't reach them from my heart to theirs, then nothing I create will matter. The silence in the room stretched, her heart thundering in her chest. She saw their expressions begin to soften, but doubt still nibbled at the corners. Would they believe her? Would they see her vision, raw and real, for what it was worth? With that vulnerability creeping back, she felt a war within herself. Could she truly push through? Her next words could change everything. Art isn't just decoration, it's a life force. As she pushed to conclude her thoughts, Anaya couldn't help but wonder, was this where her dreams laid their foundations, or would they crumble with a single decision? Would today forge her path, or seal her fate? Anaya's words hung there in the conference room, heavy and electrifying. She felt the air shift, the collective breath of the executives hanging on her passion. But uncertainty still curled around her heart, squeezing just enough to make her question herself. "Exactly," she continued, channeling every ounce of conviction she could muster. "Art brings us together, it tells our stories. Each piece is a chapter of community, of memory, of humanity. It captures moments that might otherwise be forgotten. We don't just want people to see our art. We want them to feel it." One of the executives shifted forward, his brow still furrowed. "But Anaya, what does that mean in a tangible way? How do you measure this feeling you speak of?" Suddenly it felt as if they were trapped in a glass box, her words bouncing off the polished walls, with no path out. Anaya paused, taking a breath, the silence stretching long and taut, making her feel exposed again. She scanned their faces, searching for a glimmer of understanding. Her mind went back to Malik, to those nights spent sketching and dreaming. Instinctively, she reached for her sketchbook, thumbing through the vibrant images sketched with her heart. "Let me show you the potential." She stepped toward the screen and clicked through the slides. Each image came alive, from murals that celebrated diversity to installations that invited participation. She could almost hear the laughter, feel the community coming together, every piece a heartbeat in the city. A sprinkle of intrigue flickered in the eyes of the executives. Anaya pressed on, her words gaining a rhythmic flow. Art can create spaces where dialogue happens, where kids can grow up inspired instead of ignored, where each interaction, however small, nurtures a sense of belonging. Interesting, one executive said, nodding slightly. But how do we align that with the financial goals of the project? Her heart sank for a brief moment, the weight of numbers bringing on a wave of hopelessness. But then, she remembered her promise to herself, to be bold, to be real. What if I told you that by creating a connection through art, we can not only uplift the community, but also drive sales, tourism, and loyalty? When people feel part of something bigger, they invest emotionally and financially. Anaya's voice trembled now, but it was strong with a new belief. Imagine a crowd gathering for an art opening. The buzz in the air. Families creating memories. Aren't those the experiences we want to cultivate in our beautiful city? Whispers rippled through the room, like wind against autumn leaves, uncertainty and curiosity tangled together. For the first time, she felt the energy shift from skepticism to engagement. They were listening. Really listening. Yet still, she sensed the tension lingering, doubts clinging like shadows waiting for a misstep. Her stomach twisted as she faced the possibility of rejection. What happens if this doesn't work? The lead executive challenged it, crossing his arms. If we risk our budget and it falls flat? Anaya's breath caught. The foundation of her dreams rested on this moment. If we retreat into the safe choices, we miss out on genuine connections. It's a risk, yes, but one that could change lives and ignite our city. I'd rather try and fail than never have given us a chance to flourish. As she finished speaking, a hush settled, leaving only the pounding of her heart echoing in her ears. Their expressions began to shift, reflecting the inner turmoil she felt herself. Hope bloomed in her chest, fragile and tentative but undeniably there. But just as she believed a breakthrough was slipping into view, the lead executive leaned back, a glimmer of security masking his eyes. Anaya, you've made a compelling case. But it still feels like a leap into the unknown. Her hands trembled, the enormity of the situation crashing back down. Do you believe in it? She couldn't help but ask, the words flying from her lips before she could reconsider. In a space filled with calculating business minds, her question hung above them like a storm cloud. Would they take that leap with her? Would they hold on to the vision she had painted for them with her heart? As they mulled over her question, she felt a mix of anxiety and hope, knowing both paths led to an uncertain future. And as she peered into their faces, one thought blazed in her mind. Would she win them over or lose everything she fought for? Anaya held her breath, the air thick with anticipation. She felt as though she were standing at the edge of a great cliff, her words the only rope keeping her from falling into doubt. The executives were still, and this stillness seemed to stretch into eternity. Then, slowly, the lead executive leaned forward, breaking the spell. I appreciate your passion, Anaya, he said, a trace of something softer in his gaze. But passion alone won't fund this initiative. We need data. We need a clear path forward. A ripple of frustration surged inside her, but she fought to keep her composure. What if I told you we could gather that data, that we could track engagement, participation, and even emotional response through surveys and community feedback? This isn't just about numbers. It's about storytelling through art. We can measure the impact on the community as spirit, its growth. She could see their eyebrows knit together. Yet, she sensed a flicker of curiosity still sparking. Maybe they weren't entirely lost to skepticism. It's not just artwork on a wall. It's a pulse. It's a heartbeat, Anaya added, her voice warming, a steady flame of conviction guiding her words. Every mural, every exhibition brings stories to life. We can document that. Invite researchers in. Collaborate with local universities. We can build an entire network around this idea. The lead executive's eyes narrowed slightly, perhaps calculating the feasibility of what she proposed. Fine. You pique my interest. Let us say we want to explore this connection you speak of. What would your first steps look like? Anaya's heart raced, a sudden rush of adrenaline filling her, igniting her hope. We would start small, a focused community event. We can invite local artists, families, schools. An art fair. We'll gather stories, interactions, and we can even create instant art pieces based on audience participation. I promise you, the results will be electric. As she spoke, the thought of the support, the energy of the gathering buzzed in her mind. She could almost see it, the laughter, the joy, the spark of creativity igniting right before her eyes. And then came a memory of Malik, his encouraging smile, his undying belief in her. All right, the lead executive said reluctantly, we'll consider the community event. But it's a trial. If it doesn't bring in new interest or revenue, we'll have to shut it down. Understand? Yes, she replied, a spark of determination igniting within her. But I believe it will succeed. Art can transform. As they talked logistics, she felt her nerves settle slightly, replaced by a trustworthy flutter of hope. They were moving forward, not just for her vision, but for a collective dream. However, as the conversation shifted back to budgets and figures, a malaise crept back into her heart. She knew they were still hesitant, worried about commitments they didn't fully believe in yet. Eventually, the meeting dwindled, with handshakes and polite nods. But even as they turned away, Anaya felt her heart race with a special intensity. She had taken the first steps into uncharted territory. As she collected her notes, her phone buzzed with an incoming message. Malik, her lifelong friend and artistic mentor, wanted to meet. She read the words, a mixture of eagerness and worry filling her. Anaya, I heard about the meeting. Can't wait to hear how it went. We need to talk about something important. With a twinge of apprehension, she wondered what Malik might want to discuss. Was it advice, a warning? Or could it be something that would alter the course of her project? Stepping out of the conference room, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, and the thrill of the potential change that lay ahead. But uncertainty coiled again, tightening in her chest. What could Malik possibly have to share that would impact everything she had worked so hard to achieve? Anaya stood at the crossroads of her dreams and reality, heart pounding as her fingers brushed against the door to the meeting room. The echoes of doubt filled her mind, but she shook them off. She had come too far to let fear dictate her choices. Remembering Malik's unwavering belief in her, she pushed through the doorway. The room was buzzing, the executive sharp-eyed and silent as Anaya took her place at the head of the table. Mr. Thompson gave her an encouraging nod, a small burst of warmth igniting her courage. She took a deep breath, the scent of polished wood and fresh coffee grounding her. This was her moment. Thank you all for the opportunity, she began, making eye contact with each member of the board. Today, I want to show you how art can not only enhance our city, but create a bridge between communities. It can inspire, uplift, and bring back a sense of connection that we all crave. As she spoke, a flicker of excitement ignited within her. Each slide of her presentation illustrated the vibrant life she'd envisioned, images of engaged communities, proud artists, and families filled with joy. Anaya was painting a picture, and she could feel the audience leaning in closer. But the skepticism remained, shadows lurking at the edges. These are lovely ideas, Anaya, one executive said, but how do we measure success? Art won't fill our beds, and we need to ensure this initiative is sustainable. Her heart raced, but determination surged stronger. This was the heart of her argument. Success isn't just based on numbers, but on real connections. When people feel part of something bigger, they invest emotionally and financially. Let us gather data, audience feedback. Let us invite participation. As she spoke, she envisioned Malik and their neighborhood, the laughter and stories exchanged, families coming together, creating memories through art. Let me show you real feelings what art means to us. We could create community events that invite interaction, allowing us to document the impacts of connection and art in ways that draw in both local support and tourists. The executives shifted in their seats, a hint of curiosity breaking through their initial reservations. "What is your plan?" one asked, a spark in their eye. Anaya's heart skipped. A door had opened. "We'll start small. An art fair with local artists, showcasing our community. I'll gather stories, track interactions, and we'll report results that matter. And we'll do it together." The room was silent for a moment, processing her vision. She could feel the weight of a collective decision hanging thick in the air. Hope and fear danced within her like competing flames. When the lead executive spoke again, his voice was thoughtful, cautious. "All right, let's say we give this a chance. But we need to see results, and fast. If we don't see engagement, we'll need to reconsider the initiative." Anaya nodded vigorously. "I understand. But I believe wholeheartedly in this, and I know our communities will too." The meeting concluded, and she felt lighter as she walked out. It had begun. As she celebrated internally, her phone buzzed again. Malik was waiting for her outside. Anaya opened the door to the sun-drenched street, and there was Malik, his small frame bursting with excitement. "You did it!" he beamed, jumping up and down. A huge smile spread across her face, and she pulled him into a tight embrace. "We're moving forward, Malik. An art fair in our neighborhood." His laughter filled her heart. Just then, she noticed a group of neighbors standing a little way off, curious and hopeful, the same familiar faces that supported Anaya from her first craft stand. They had been watching, waiting, believing in her. "Let us tell them!" she exclaimed, her heart swelling with pride and excitement. "This is going to be our project." Her community was ready to step into the future alongside her, fostering a collaborative spirit that would uplift them all. They believed in their dreams, her dreams, and each other. As they began to strategize the fair together, Anaya's heart swelled, realizing that this journey would not just ignite her future, but the spirit of her whole neighborhood. She felt a wave of gratitude rush over her. It was a beautiful, transformative beginning, and as the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, Anaya glanced at Malik, eyes sparkling with dreams of the future. This was the moment that would change everything. Committed to her vision, surrounded by love, she was ready to rise. This is a beautiful story of courage, connection, and community. But now, the journey still needs you. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire and empower. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans of this journey understand how vital it is to show your support.